please give David a big App Promotion Summit London App Store Optimization Zone. Welcome to the virtual stage. Over to you, David.
Thank you, James. Well, let's start. So before we start, I want to tell that we have a poll and you can answer the question, what do you think your app's ASO index is? So try to guess, and then after the end of my presentation, you can go to check the checkaso.io and check your ASO index, your app's ASO index. So let's move. Let me say a few words about myself. My name is David, and I'm the head of ASO at checkaso.io. I work with apps for 4 years already, and I'm creating algorithms and everything which is related our platform, and also optimize different types of apps and games on everyday basis. So also let me say a few words about our platform. So CheckASO is an analytical platform that traces your ASO performance and gives you custom tips on how to improve it and so on. It's made by ASO specialists, of course, and fits users of any experience from beginners to enthusiasts with a lot of optimized apps behind. The platform algorithms provide highly accurate data on keywords, impressions, and search volume, search popularity, live search result, ranking history, competitors analysis, and everything you need for Apple App Store and Google Play optimization. So let me say a few words about our achievements. So in 2020, we have experienced a major breakthrough as we have grown remarkably. We launched more than 10 ASO tools, added 30 new locations, developed a system of indices, conducted 15 training webinars, and were nominated for the Best ASO Company at the App Growth Summit. And let's move further. Today, I'd like to tell you about our system of indices and what are indices, how we have developed them, and how they can help in building your ASO strategy. So to begin with, I want you to tell how we came up with the idea of creating the universal system of indices. The industry develops very quickly, as you know, so every day new research and dozens of articles are published. And there is so much information, and often it's hard to use it without serious background and experience. So I'm sorry, just a while. Yeah, sorry. We have realized it with the help of our consulting department clients, and they face the problems of lack of knowledge in mobile industry and the lack of understanding of the specifics of working with optimization. Not only the beginners or indie developers had this problem, but also the marketing managers from big, huge companies with thousands of employees. And the information from developer consoles, mobile measurement partners, and other tools and sources is kind of difficult to communicate with each other on a daily basis. And often it's difficult to interpret how efficient and correctly strategy is. So we understood that there wasn't any universal system for this purpose. So that's why we developed the index system. So let's move to the next slide. And why is it effective? So first of all, it's easy to interpret data. Indices collect and analyze data, showing you the result in a familiar system perception in numbers, of course, for example, from 1 to 10 or from 1 to 100. The second thing is that it is the source of insights. Many steps and difficulties of the optimization process became more clear when you use indices. Plus, related tools give you more opportunities to work with your optimization. The third thing is the structure of performance evaluation. There are already sets of tools for assessment of iteration, indices with different specialization. All these can be used depending on your project or on your goals and so on. Let's take a look at the index system. And for now, we have developed 4 indexes. First thing is ASO index, of course, and then search visibility, browse visibility, and performance index. And let's talk about them in detail. So let's start with ASO index. And we developed ASO index to understand how effectively the store listing is optimized. So I'm sorry, drink a little bit water. Yeah. Well, this index kind of express audit, and we developed it without any access to internal data like impressions, page views, conversion rate, efficiency of the app, and so on. So we were able to create a system based only on the complex analysis of external data. So in simple words and as accurately as possible, we wanted our users to see how well the page is optimized from the ASO perspective. So to understand what exactly we need to analyze, let's take a look at the infographic that illustrates the user journey in the App Store and Google Play Market, such a customer journey map. So first of all, when the user comes to the store, he adds needed keywords in the search field. Then he looks through the search result, as usually it can up to 5th place. So after that, he starts looking for your icon, your title, your screenshot, if we are talking about Apple App Store. After that, if he likes your graphic assets, your title, he can click your app and move to the app page. And then he starts watch videos, screenshots, read your description, your ratings, reviews, and so on. And if everything is okay, he's going to start download your app. And we can see that from this infographic, that the main things that we need to analyze and work for are, first of all, keywords, search visibility, graphic assets, and of course, text metadata in general. We have highlighted here the specific parameters that ASO index evaluates. So the main are title, subtitle, or short description, full description, but only Google Play, because we all know that Apple is not indexing full description at all. Also screenshots, number of ratings, average ratings, metadata keywords popularity, and metadata keywords visibility. So there is a low entry threshold to work with the index. So the user just needs to provide a link of his app. Then he immediately receives a rating of his app from 1 to 10, which helps to see the growth areas and everything like that. So you can see the strong and weak sides, not only of your app, but also of your competitors' apps. The list is not limited to the displayed data. It also includes extra parameters, ratio system, the percentage of influence, and etc. The parameters mentioned above are basic, of course, and most of them are quantitative. So let's move to that. For example, the efficiency of using the available characters and screenshots. You can enhance metadata just adding new keywords or new graphic assets, for example, screenshots, new video, or new icon. The number of ratings and the average rating compare with the metrics of apps in their category. And based on benchmarks, evaluate the performance and competitiveness of the current app metric. Keywords popularity and visibility index show how popular and promising keywords that you use in your metadata are and how your app is ranked on them from the visibility perspective. So collected data is not based on subjective interpretation, of good or bad parameters. It's based, first of all, on store guidelines and benchmarks by category, of course. Analyzing millions of apps per day, every day we evaluate each one of them and store these data for future calculations. All of the above provided a good starting point and understanding of weaknesses and growth areas. We have also developed the help system, and it's our virtual assistant. She's named Epi, and she will suggest what you need to improve, what steps to take, and provide the necessary tool for it. So next, now let's move to the next index, and it is Search Visibility Index. Well, sorry, just a minute. Well, so we've learned how to evaluate the performance index, the performance of the App Store listing optimization, and it is the first step. And after all, a page set according to all guidelines doesn't guarantee success in terms of app growth. So then comes a long and thorough work with iterations. Besides the initial evaluation and finding growth areas, you also need to evaluate the result of work with each iteration directed at increasing specific metrics and so on. Actions directed at specific changes can also trigger other ones. And for this purpose, we have developed Search Visibility Index, or SVI. The index directly or indirectly can reflect the performance of keywords rankings, keywords popularity, impressions, installs, or app units. For example, if the index is low, then keywords ranking and popularity will also be low, which means there will be fewer impressions and installs. It deals with the text optimization directly and focuses only on text metadata. So let's refresh our knowledge and take a look at infographic where you can see the index text elements in Apple App Store and Google Play Market and the degree of their influence. So we see, first of all, the title. It's the the main thing in both stores, in Google Play Market and Apple App Store. After that, we go to subtitle in Apple App Store and, of course, short description in Google Play Market. Also, we have keywords field in Apple App Store and full description in Google Play Market. These are the main metadata parts to optimize. We also have another ones, but these are the main. So you should start with them first. And let's now move to the next slide. So to work on visibility, you need to follow a specific methodology consisting of 4 steps. So here you can see the infographic, and first of all, searching for keywords. On this part, you should search for relevant keywords, try to brainstorm, use different ASO tools, and collect your semantic core. After that, start keyword prioritization. At this step, you should check your keyword, try to choose the most relevant, check the popularity, effectiveness, competitiveness, and everything like that. After that, you should compose your text elements, your title, subtitle, description, update your app, and then monitor your changes and reflect everything. And then start from the beginning. And it's a cyclical methodology, and it must be applied to each iteration in full. Search Visibility Index, in its turn, shows how effective the search strategy is within search channel, considering positions and popularity of keywords. Well, the performance evaluation depends on app category within which the total number of possible impressions is estimated. The index helps to evaluate the general level of iteration without going into details right after the update. And first of all, focus on finding growth areas in the future using the related tools. There are 2 types of factors that affect the change in Search Visibility Index and search visibility in general. So controlled changes, which provoked by targeted activities, and uncontrolled, provoked by external activities. And changes can be both for better and for worse. So if we're talking about control changes, we can say that they might be, for example, updating metadata, launch, stop paid UA campaign, increase, decrease in the ANR and crush rate, and so on. So everything that you can control by yourself. What if for uncontrolled changes, it can be the store algorithm update, competitor ad campaigns, or black hat ASO of your competitors. So it's quite easy to deal with controlled changes, because you should just check your change log, and if you don't keep the record of your updates, so you should start right now. And it will help you to track the influence of all your updates and compare them with the visibility change chart. And it is a little harder to deal with uncontrolled changes. To spot their presence is a fairly simple task. Just make sure that there wasn't any controlled changes during the increase or decline. It's more difficult to understand what exactly has changed. In this case, it's necessary to analyze the activity of competitors' updates, everything about keywords indexing, ranking, screenshots, graphic elements, and so on. So this approach lets us classify factors and filter out irrelevant ones. So next, move to the next slide, and it's Browse Visibility Index. So evaluating the influence of search traffic finding the growth and decline areas seems to be quite clear from perspective of the algorithms of actions. The decline of visibility means drop in keywords ranking, loss of indexing, and pessimization. It's far more complicated to evaluate the influence of traffic from browse and explore channels. For this purpose, we have developed the Browse Visibility Index, or BVI, which shows the level of app visibility in browse and explore channels. So let's have a look at the sources that generate this type of traffic. It can be category top charts, similar apps, related apps, recommended apps, different collections, featuring apps, stories, and so on. But usually, most of the traffic comes from similar app section. Store algorithms suggest the user to install your app on the app pages of your competitors. We describe the factors and patterns affecting the performance in our big research, and it will be publicly available soon, so stay tuned and follow our new blog posts. But now let's take a brief look at the main factors. So how effectively you appear in similar apps section highly depends on the category of your app. So try to choose the right category only after analyzing all your relevant and potential competitors. The second, but equally important point is your text metadata. A thorough and a good description will help algorithms to understand better what your app is about and recommend it more. And don't forget about Google Natural Language API if you are working with Google Play Market. It will help you to see how well Google's algorithms consider your app and what category they put it in. And let's finish with the stability and quality of the app. So it applies not only to stable work without crashes, but also such metrics as retention, churn rate, number of sessions, and etc. So we have observed the main factors. Now let's try to understand how we should estimate their influence. In this case, in the case of Browse Visibility Index, it's rather difficult to divide the factors that have influence on it into controlled and uncontrolled, as in the case of Search Visibility Index. While changes are usually motivated by the actions of developer or ASO manager, the change in browse visibility and the increase of traffic from browse and explore channels may not be directly related. So let's take an example. Well, you have prepared and submitted feature and application form to get into the App of the Day section in the United States on the day of a major update of your app. But as a result, you got it into the App of the Day only in Germany and France. So the original goal wasn't achieved, but the result of your activity was worth it. And let's take another example. You worked through the description of your app on Google Play Market using Google Natural Language and achieved 0.99 category confidence. Your goal was to increase impressions in the similar app block, but the result was a drop in performance triggered by an increase of crash rates and pessimization of app visibility, for example. Well, these examples illustrate the specificity of work on improving the metrics in browse and explore channels. The index help you to quickly detect and record the fact of change in visibility after each iteration or update. And after analyzing historical data changes, find the reason, understanding the nature of factors influencing the change. So now let's move to the next index, and it's performance index. The index system makes it possible to work with a certain country and locale, work out a strategy in detail and evaluate the results. This approach is relevant for almost every type of app or game. But what if the number of projects and countries becomes large enough? In the ASO structure appears different teams which are responsible for specific areas, for example, for search traffic optimization, conversion optimization, localization, and so on, or even for particular countries within different projects. So there can be many different approaches and structures. And the ability to quickly overview the data, not only in particular country, but also around the world, is extremely important, not only for performance evaluation, but also for the initial audit. For this purpose, I want to present the last index, and it's our performance index. It's the general indicator of attracting organic traffic performance from all channels, which includes many parameters, including those from previous indexes and other ones. Being the highly complex, performance index becomes the starting point for analyzing a whole ASO strategy. So one of the most important advantages of the index is the dynamic principle, which considering the values of parameters, not only at the current moment, but also for the past period, for the past data. And if the dynamics continues to be negative, the performance index indicator will be lower, signaling the need for related measures. Well, but even with index system, the optimization may seem a little bit complicated and tricky, especially for beginners. So the most reasonable and frequent question we got from users and is, where should I start? So we have created the optimization roadmap in a framework format that answers most of the questions and helps to understand the structure of the processes. But first, let's summarize everything that we have mentioned today. In this table, we have gathered all the indices and specified the influence of each of them and possible application scenarios. So here you can see, for example, let's take a look at the ASO index. We can see that ASO index analyzes number of characters, the number of ratings and reviews, keywords, doubling and spam, popularity, and so on. And on the right side, you can see the application scenarios. You can use the ASO index for text optimization, for competitive analysis, or for ASO audit. And the same thing is for every index. And if this information is useful for you, I will share the link for my presentation after this webinar, and you can open it and try to look and implement this framework in your everyday work basis. So now let's go to the framework and move to the next slide. So as I mentioned before, performance index becomes the starting point for working with indices. At this step, it's necessary to analyze how things are going with attracting traffic in a particular country. So if your parameters are high, then it's worth referring to the list of countries in which your app is available and where potentially you can optimize its page. And if there is no countries, that then congrats, you are an ASO god. But I believe that such scenarios are possible in one case in a million, and we will not review them right now. Right now, let's go to a more real case. Your performance index, let's imagine that your performance index is not high enough. In this case, you have 3 scenarios to choose for further actions. So they are isolated and represented by their own index, but they are connected with each other as well. So in this case, I suggest to move to ASO index first, because it's more basic and broad, and it indirectly affects the rest indexes. If your indices are not high enough, you need to answer a series of questions, which will show what actions you need to take to increase the index and improve the results. So here we can see our framework. For example, if you have bad positions on your title index, subtitle index, or description, you should follow the first step. Then we'll go to the next slide. And here you can see what you should do when you have low index, your low title index or subtitle index. And the same thing is for every step in ASO index, search visibility index, and browse visibility index. I will provide all this information after this webinar, after my presentation. And you can find a lot of interesting and useful information and implement it in your work. So now I think that we can finish, and the last words is just at the first glance just complicated. This framework can systematize your processes, and indexes can structure the data and help to understand more. With indices, we help thousands of our platform users not to get lost in first steps and successfully develop their projects. You can develop indices system within your own projects the same way, so according to your specific needs. But if it's not your option, then we are always happy to help you with this goal. So thank you for your attention, and I have a gift for every viewer of this lecture. Using this short link or QR code that you can see on the screen, you can download my ebook, Free and Easy Ways to Improve Text ASO and Boost Installs, including 7 exclusive pro life hacks. So thank you so much for your attention, and if you have questions, feel free to ask me. Thank you.
Thanks, David. That was great. A lot of good information there. And yeah, that was really useful, especially the breakdown of the different ranking factors and that kind of thing. I've never seen that before so easily, side by side. It was a really good summary. Maybe you want to stop sharing your screen and we'll get into questions.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so right, let's dig in. We've got quite a few. Okay, so Helena, she is asking, she's an ASO manager at Loans International app, and she's saying you don't have any information about ranking in the category, similar and featured apps anywhere on the platform. Where do you get the data for calculating the indices?
Well, we collect this data right now. We process it and store in our database, but it's not on the platform yet because the feature is developing right now, and I think it will be available soon, maybe in a few months. So that's why we don't have it on our platform, but we have all this data in our database. So.
Got it. And Anastasia is asking, how do you understand what exactly needs to be optimized based on the ASO index? I mean, she asked that at the beginning. Maybe that was sort of answered as you went down, but.
Well, the index section overview lists the parameters and what they depend on. So we have a virtual assistant which gives you advices and different tips, and you can open the platform and see all the points that you should optimize and read every tip that we have on our platform. So it's very easy to work with. So just open the ASO index section overview, and I think it will be. So if you have questions, you can write direct message me and on Facebook or maybe LinkedIn. I will try to help you.
Great. And another question is, I use from Helena, and Helena, yeah, have we had this one? As if I already had that one. Oh no, yeah, it's another question. Same Helena, different question. I use Check ASO. I'm familiar with your indexes, but I don't understand how the visibility index in ASO index and search visibility index differ. Why do they have different indicators?
The visibility index is a part of ASO index, and it evaluates the visibility by the keywords only that are used in your metadata. And visibility index, search visibility index, yeah, it's overall visibility of all your index keywords. So in the first part, we analyze only keywords from your metadata, and in search visibility index, we analyze all your index keywords. So that is the difference.
And I guess, again, they can probably follow up with you directly for any more on that. Ivan has a challenge to you. He says all ASO, it doesn't seem like he's from a competitor. He says all ASO services contain their own stores. Why your index is better?
Well, I can't say that there is a source which is better than other ones. So, but I can say that we use our own data, and we completely developed algorithms and take into account the current situation in the stores. So we regularly update our algorithms, we regularly update our data, and it's very clear and easy to interpret everything, every information and data, and it makes it very easy to use our indices and get a lot of tips and make your optimization easier on everyday basis. So that's it.
Great. And Victoria is asking, each country is individual in terms of traffic volume, user behavioral factors, etc. Do you take this into account in the index algorithm?
Yeah, of course, we take it into account, and to calculate each index, we use every information which is open in the internet. From the internet, we try to use factors, for example, the population, the user behavior, and the number of active devices, for example, from Apple and Android devices, and every information that can help us to collect that data and to make our indices and our traffic volume better. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay, and Alina has a couple from Libertex, I think it's financial app, has a couple of good questions. She says, how do you develop a strategy for keyword iterations? Which numbers and metrics do you take into consideration for you to apply new sets of keywords? How often do you update your textual metadata?
Well, it's highly depends on It highly depends on the app. So first of all, you should collect everything. Then you should make your metadata elements, so your title, subtitles. Then update as often as it's possible. For example, if you updated your metadata and there won't any change, any positive change or even negative change, you should do it right after these updates. So if everything is okay, you should work maybe an update after 1-2 weeks. Every 1-2 weeks, you should update your metadata, try to test your graphic assets and everything like that. So I think this is the most valuable thing for that.
Great. And she has another question, another good question. How do you understand that Google Play long description is done well when you try and localize it in other markets? It's easy to use keyword density and Cloud Natural API in English, but it's not applicable for, let's say, Turkey.
Yeah, you in this case, you can just, as we're talking about Google, you can just take your description in any language, translate in Google Translator, and put it in Google Natural Language API. That's it. So it works perfectly.
Great. Okay. So Katon from Vivid Games is asking, which countries is the tool currently allowing keyword tracking?
Now we allowed, I can name every country, but about 40 countries. Yeah, you can check it out on our website. Yeah, about 40 countries.
Okay. And Peter Main, he's an ASO manager, is saying, David, you said that the ASO index includes additional parameters besides the 8 listed. Which ones do you mean?
Well, we listed 8 main ones on this presentation, and other additional, for example, the age of the app, update frequency, if the app has a featuring, and etc. So you can find some of them on the table that I have shown on this presentation. I will share the link in the chart, so you can go and check it out yourself and find every information.
Great. Okay. Well, you've answered a lot of questions, and I'm glad to see everyone's paying attention and asking all these detailed, doing this detailed interrogation. So yeah, thanks for joining us today, David. That was great.
Thank you so much for inviting. Yeah, it was a great experience. Thank you, James.
Good. And can we finally just prove this isn't a virtual background? I don't know if anyone caught this earlier. Can you actually reach into the... Okay. It's definitely not a virtual back. We should maybe market this as a virtual screensaver, virtual background for people to use on Zoom calls, I think.
Yeah.
I may ask for a photo later. Great.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks.